My name is Niel Pandya. I am the business development lead for cybersecurity here at Micro Focus. So CyberRes is a line of business for us here at Micro Focus. So my topic is on shift left. And one of the things that I want to highlight is shift left was a term coined mainly by the DevSecOps community. And one of the things that we observed about shift left was it was trying to drive efficiency in a number of areas. A lot of it was to do with testing, but security vulnerabilities also came into place as well, application security testing. We observed what was happening with the shift left philosophy, and we observed quite a few interesting metrics. We improved the security, we reduced false positives, we introduced a lot of business partnerships between security teams and developers, which existed as a gap for a very long time. So we looked at the shift left kind of messaging, and we looked at how this applies to CISOs in today's world. So my topic is mainly going to be about this today. So let's start with what we've been observing over the last the last 4 decades. When we look at security first, in the last 2 decades, security started off as a compliance requirement. Many of you remember about Sarbanes-Oxley, PCI DSS was part of the framework here as well. And then GDPR and data privacy came along much more later, but it was mainly focusing on compliance. So we looked at security as a requirement to address compliance. We looked at, from looking at our compliance posture, we moved into how do we de-risk the business with the risk that we've seen from the lack of compliance. We looked at how we enable the business, and there was a big push for the digital transformation at this stage between 2014 and 2020. Many of you will know that we tried to transform digitally, and there was a lot of resistance from the business, which was largely due to the businesses weren't ready then. Enterprise became very, very ready because of the COVID and pandemic that we saw. So this era is very much about how resilient are we. A great opportunity for us to be working in security when we look at how much we've accelerated the cross to the digital fault line. Let's look at a bit more about the traditional models that we've seen exist in our security framework for the last few years. So we've always looked at the risk management, securing the business, and also how we move towards reducing exposure as well. This has been the main focus. And when we look at all the cyber services that are listed on the left-hand side, you'll be very familiar with, whether it was about ERP systems, whether it was patching, whether it was partner integration, whether it was incident management, whether it was security, incident event management, and so on. Infrastructure security, cloud adoption. This is very much about how much are we managing risk, securing our business, and reducing exposure. When we look at the approach today, and largely due to how we've transformed digitally, the shift has become more about enabling the business and also establishing trust across all those services that we have that represent our cybersecurity portfolio and posture as well. So the shift left is more about understanding where the business is and where we need to prioritize with our security investments and security focus as well. When we look at the shift left leader today, there's a number of there's 5 key areas that the new leader looks at and focuses on. Business aligned, really aligned with what business services are required to make sure that the business is resilient and can function on a day-to-day basis. So we prioritize on what services and applications are key to our business. Modernity, a very important thing. We need to be critically thinking about where we are positioned today, and where we will land in the future as well. A very strong rationale and very measured against our business outcomes, having empathy for our organizations. And empathy is something that we learned from our DevSecOps shift left methodology, where we saw that there was we set ourselves very high expectations, and we failed to deliver on those expectations because the security teams weren't really well aligned to the development teams in that scenario. So the need to have empathy, transparency, and also decision ownership as well. Who in my organizations owns the key decisions in these particular area? When we looked at the shift left with DevSecOps, people were a key part of this. We found that the developer team weren't so familiar with security, and the security teams didn't really understand what the development teams were exposed to. So the key understanding of what role people play in our shift left leadership program is very, very important. So we look at the service-oriented leadership, decision ownership between business and technical teams, and having trust and transparency. The way we measure performance is very key to us, because traditionally what we've done is we've looked at SLAs, we've looked at vulnerability assessments, we've looked at how well we've measured those and mitigated those risks. But now we want to also look at other areas, communication and weaknesses throughout my organization. How do we communicate how resilient we are? And how do we communicate areas that we have been impacted in, and driving readiness as well? How ready are we? A key KPI to communicate to my organization. Also, what we've seen today, that the new shift left leader doesn't go alone. They bring together technical expertise, they bring together the business and peers and partners, and also contributes to the general awareness of what cybersecurity means to my organization. The shift left mission is very, very strategic. It's very much a digital multiplier, has agility at the heart of it, and speed to market. So we know that we want to be very responsive to how the market is changing. And the last 18 months has shown us how the market can change very, very quickly, and how we can respond to pandemics and so on. Having innovation at the heart. And if we don't have some of this vision and some of these processes in place, it's very, very difficult for us to drive innovation. And innovation is going to be very key to how resilient we are, and having security at the heart of that. New channels and markets, trust and confidence. In terms of cyber priorities, is to reduce the business friction. Having key advisors within my business community and partnerships to help me drive initiatives and innovation as well. Trust and confidence in decision making. So we partner with our business partners to understand where the market focus is, where is the business focus for us, where are we going to have the greatest resiliency, or where do we need to have the greatest resiliency. Enable agility and resiliency at the heart of our organization. Some of the mission accelerators, smart factories, Industry 4.0, wearables, IoT, 3D printing, robotics, advanced analytics is a key area that we look at Micro Focus, and how we can use that to help enable resiliency in our business. Everything in cloud, and understanding how hybrid cloud will help our business to grow, and mobile first. When we look at the areas that we want the new leaders of Shift Left to focus on, understanding what the mission is, using the mission defined in previous sessions to break down the value chain, so we understand where we want to focus on security. Perform priority threat requirements. Don't try to protect the whole of the organization, but try and prioritize. And when we do is we prioritize on what's critical to our business, and what's critical to make sure that we have resiliency at the heart of our organization. Map the priority threat requirements to technology, and how those technologies can be used by my current workforce, and understand where the gaps are. Strategize. Understand where we want to strategize on. Make sure that our organizations understand the partnerships that we want to focus on, and where we can build. When we look at why this is important, we want to secure the enterprise, whether they're securing a transformation, whatever digital transformation you're going through, whether it's cloud adoption, your value chain, or your infrastructure. When we look at the enterprise, it falls down into the typical key pillars of identity, applications, data, and also monitoring as well. Key focus for us at Micro Focus is actually enabling the business to become more cyber resilient. With that, I'd like to thank you for your time. If you would like to have any more information, please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.